Richard Cottingham, known as the Torso Killer, the Times Square Killer, and the New York Ripper, is an American serial killer and rapist who murders at least a dozen young girls and women in New York and New Jersey between 1967 and 1980. Nearly 30 years later, he admits to committing at the very least 80 to 100 what he calls, quote, perfect murders of women all around the United States. If proven, that would make him the most prolific American serial killer ever. Hi there, my name is Misha, and welcome to All Things True Crime, or welcome back if you're a regular. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, that way more people will see it, and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss my next video. The subscribe button is right below the video, and then if you ding that bell, you'll get notified the next time I upload. That's All Things True Crime. It's truly chilling. Okay, the story of Richard Cottingham, dubbed the Torso Killer due to dismembering his victims, begins on November 25th, 1946 in Mott Haven, Bronx, New York City, New York. Quick side note, Mott Haven is a primarily residential neighborhood in the southwestern part of the Bronx. So New York City has 5 boroughs, which are generally treated as separate counties in most ways. These boroughs differ greatly in relation to power when you compare them to, like, you know, the boroughs of Connecticut or Pennsylvania or really even New Jersey. Okay, so November 25th, 1946. Cottingham is born in Mott Haven, Bronx, New York City, New York. That is a mouthful. He is the first boy and only boy in what will become a family with 4 children. His father works for an insurance company, and his mother is a homemaker. In 1948, the family moves to Dumont, New Jersey, and in 1956 to Rivervale, New Jersey. In 1964, Cottingham graduates from Pascack Valley High School in Hillsdale, New Jersey. He seems to have a very normal childhood, and nothing crazy there, at least nothing that's ever made public. No abuse from parents or anything like that. He does change schools as they move around and, has trouble making friends. He isn't good at sports and he has bad eyesight. In high school, he joins the track team, though, because it allows him to be alone. Shortly after graduating, he takes a job at Metropolitan Life at the headquarters on Madison Avenue in New York City, where his dad is a vice president. Fancy. Even with his pops as a vice president, he starts in the mailroom and after taking some computer classes is able to work his way up to mainframe computer operator. In October of 1966, he takes a job as a computer operator for Blue Cross Blue Shield in New York, and he'll hold this position until his arrest in 1980. Okay, so super interesting and super creepy fact. It's at this job that Cottingham crosses paths with Rodney Alcala, known as the dating game killer. In fact, they work in the same office. At the time, 1969, Rodney Alcala is living in New York under the alias John Berger. Now, neither of them has claimed to have been aware of the other or even familiar with one another. Creepy though, right? Ooh, 2 serial killers in the same office. No thank you. No please. Okay, so we don't know much about how they met, but on May 3rd, 1970, Cottingham is married at Our Lady of Lourdes in Queens Village, New York. He and his wife have 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. In April of 1978, his wife files for divorce, citing abandonment and mental cruelty. Yikes. More specifically, the claims centered on refusing to have sex with her after the birth of their 3rd child, staying out until the early morning hours, and not allowing her to access funds to properly care for their house and children. Dirtbag. For some odd reason, once he is arrested, she withdraws the divorce petition and then refiles it after his trial and subsequent conviction. Okay, so throughout his murder spree, he is arrested on several lesser charges. For much of his spree, law enforcement is not aware of the murders, or even that there is a serial killer at large in New York and the New Jersey area. So as for the timeline, Cottingham commits his first known murder at the age of 21. It is October 28, 1967. He strangles a 29-year-old married mother of 2. Her car is found parked in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. In it, stuffed behind the passenger seat under a blanket, is her naked body, with her hands bound in front of her. She had been last seen at her home 3 days prior as she was heading out to play bingo with her friends at a local church. This murder remains unsolved until Cottingham confesses and pleads guilty in August of 2010. His second known murder occurs on February 15, 1968. This victim's car is found parked near the Green Acres Mall in Valley Steam, New York. Like with his first victim, this woman's body is found stuffed in the back seat of her car, having been raped, beaten, and then strangled. She was 23 years old. Cottingham didn't get charged with this murder until just 2 months ago, June 2022, when DNA evidence left at the crime scene linked him to the murder. It's crazy. I mean, it's awesome that he got charged with it, but wow. Okay, so in 2014, Cottingham decided that he would admit confidentially to Detective Robert Anzalotti of the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office in New Jersey to the murders of 3 teenage girls between 1968 and 1969. The first of these occurs on July 17, 1968. The girl is 13 years old. Cottingham ambushes her, seemingly at random, as she is walking home from school band practice at night. This takes place in Midland Park, New Jersey. She is strangled with the leather strap of her bag. It sounds like he didn't have any tools with him. Next occurs on April 7th, 1969 in Hackensack, New Jersey. The girl is 18. She is found face down in Saddle River in what is about 4 feet of water. She is strangled with either a wire, a cord, or maybe with the crucifix that she was wearing. Yikes. Third of 3 admissions occurs on July 14th, 1969 in Emerson, New Jersey. This girl was 15. Cottingham grabs her while she's walking to a friend's house. She is found the next morning in a town 9 miles away, a roughly 15 to 20 minute drive, a place called Saddlebrook, New Jersey. Her body is found by the side of the road next to a cemetery. She is strangled with a cord or maybe the chain of the crucifix she's wearing. Okay. The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office closes these cases with the flag exceptionally closed, meaning they only told the victims' families of Cottingham's confessions. It isn't made public until 2019. On October 3rd, 1969, he is charged with and convicted of drunk driving in New York City and sentenced to only a $50 fine is all. What a dirtbag. On October 21st, 1972, he's charged with and convicted of shoplifting at Stern's department store in Paramus, New Jersey. Once again, he is sentenced to pay a $50 fine. Okay. This time, he's given the option of paying the fine or spending 10 days in jail. He pays the fine. Well, no joke. On September 4th, 1973, he is arrested in New York City for a weird combination of crimes. Robbery, oral sodomy, and sex abuse. This arrest stems from the statement of a prostitute and her pimp. As is often the case, neither of them appears in court, and so the case against him is dismissed. Slimeball. Well, I mean, they're all slimeballs. On March 12, 1974, Cottingham is arrested in New York City, this time for robbery and unlawful imprisonment, also from the statement of a prostitute. We're beginning to see a trend here, aren't we? Once again, the victim doesn't appear in court, and so the case against Cottingham is dismissed. In April 2021, Cottingham confesses to an unsolved murder that occurred on August 9th, 1974. This one is especially rough. It's a double abduction, rape, and forcible drowning. Murders of 2 teenage girls, one 16 and one 17 years old. This happens in Montvale, New Jersey, and is one of New Jersey's most notorious cold cases. Interesting how he confesses to this one. So, a forensic historian and a family member of one of Cottingham's victims, they've been meeting with Cottingham in prison since 2017, trying to get him to confess, I guess. On top of that, Chief of Detectives Robert Anzalotti has been interviewing Cottingham on and off for 15 years, also working towards confessions. Well, so Cottingham finally decides to confess, and Anzalotti is able to be the one to take the confession. And it's pretty cool. It was just weeks before his retirement, so probably a pretty sweet retirement present. This takes Cottingham's victim count up to 11. Remember though, he claims to have murdered upwards of 100. On December 15th, 1977, another body is found. This time, the victim is a 26-year-old X-ray technician. She is brutally beaten and strangled in the parking lot of the Quality Inn in Hasbrouck Heights, New Jersey. Law enforcement doesn't link this murder to Cottingham until after his arrest. She has ligature marks around her wrists and ankles, looks like from handcuffs or something like that, and traces of tape around her mouth. Cottingham abducted her from the apartment complex where he used to live. On December 2nd, 1979, 2 years later, really don't think he was dormant for 2 years. I mean, you know, serial killers have cooling off periods, but I'm starting to believe him when he says he committed 85 to 100 murders, and the cops just didn't link them. No way this guy was cooling off for 2 years. So December 2nd, 1979, a fire alarm goes off at a Travel Inn near Times Square. When firemen respond, they discover 2 female bodies. One is eventually identified, the other is not. Both have their hands and heads removed, yes, removed, as in separated from the rest of them. Yikes. The bodies had been doused in lighter fluid and then set ablaze. Police never did find the missing heads and hands. Okay. The forensic historian who later visits Cottingham in prison that I mentioned a minute ago and aids in his later confessions has a brief encounter with him at this inn. As Cottingham is leaving, the historian is checking in on a business assignment, I guess. It's kind of neat, right? I'm just glad this guy helps convince Cottingham to come clean. Thank you, sir. In 2009, Cottingham confesses to these 2 murders and claims he severed the heads and hands of the victims to prevent identification. But wouldn't the fire have done the same? Why set him on fire then? I don't know. Apparently he knew one of them and had been seen with her the night before at a bar, so he was highly motivated to prevent identification. Funny because that's the one of the 2 that they are able to identify. Okay, dummy. On May 5th, 1980, police find the body of a 19-year-old girl in a Quality Inn in Hasbrouck Heights, New Jersey. Same place the X-ray technician was found. This girl's hands were tightly handcuffed behind her back, and this is where he screwed up. Police are able to finally lift a fingerprint that matches Cottingham, the only fingerprint successfully found from any of his known murders. Boom! Gotcha now, dirtbag. Ooh! The victim is bruised and beaten around her head and just really all over her body and bitten on the breast with traces of tape on her lips. Why? Just traces. Why did he remove the tape? That's weird. Cause of death is asphyxiation. At some point in the future, they link this murder to the other body that he dumped in this inn's parking lot. On May 5th, 1980, he strangles, rapes, stabs, burns, and tortures a 25-year-old woman in the historic Seville Hotel. He severs her breasts, hopefully post-mortem, yikes, and then he poses them on the headboard of the bed before setting the mattress on fire, the mattress that the body is on fire and fleeing the room. This is similar to how he behaved at the Travel Inn. May 22nd, 1980, he picks up an 18-year-old prostitute. She is soliciting, and he takes her up on her offer. A deal apparently is negotiated for services in exchange for $100. It's around sunrise that they check into the same Quality Inn in Hasbrouck Heights, New Jersey, where just a few weeks before, he had left a victim's body underneath the bed in his room to be discovered by the housekeeper. Whew, poor housekeeper. It's a rough day. For this young girl, he offers to give her a massage. She accepts and lays on her stomach on the bed. He then straddles her, draws a knife, and presses it to her throat, while handcuffing her with his other hand. Once he has her bound, he begins torturing her. Apparently he doesn't muffle her screams enough, and they are overheard by the staff, who are still pretty spooked by the murder that occurred there 18 days ago. So someone calls 911 and then apparently knocks on the door, demanding Cottingham open it. He is apprehended in the hallway by the arriving police officers. After they have him in custody, they find in his room handcuffs, a leather gag, 2 slave collars, a switchblade, pistols, and a bunch of prescription pills. So he rapes the majority of his victims, but not all of them. That's a little odd to me, kind of uncharacteristic of a serial killer. Maybe the few times he didn't, he was interrupted, or perhaps was overly stimulated by the murder or the torture and didn't need to rape them. Charges brought against him include kidnapping, attempted murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated sexual assault while armed, rape, aggravated sexual assault while armed, sodomy, aggravated sexual assault while armed, fellatio, possession of a weapon, possession of controlled dangerous substances for segobarbital, amobarbital, and diazepam. Found in his house were personal items that tied him to 2 victims. During the early 1980s, he is convicted of 5 murders in 2 separate murder trials in New Jersey in 1981 and 1982, and 1 trial in New York in 1984 for 3 murders. He pleads innocent and then for the next 30 years insists that he is being framed. It's ridiculous. Until in 2009, he admits to them all. He's just like, yeah, actually I did it. Nobody ever doubted that. Even though these murders are committed before DNA or in the pre-DNA era, he is still what they have called forensically aware, and that's why only 1 print was ever discovered. Like, meaning he was aware of fingerprints or being, hair, and realized he needed to be super careful at the crime scenes and not leave behind any evidence from his person. He was proactive in that way, I guess. In 2010, he pleads guilty to a murder he committed in 1967. In 2021, he pleads guilty to the 1974 kidnapping, raping, and drowning of those 2 teenage girls that we talked about, while also confessing to 3 additional murders that took place in 68 and 69, those teenage girls. He confessed to those 3 murders in exchange for immunity. My guess is the police wanted closure for the families since the girls were minors, but that's just my guess. This year, 2022, he is arraigned from his hospital bed for a 1968 murder. He is linked to this crime scene through DNA evidence. This case is thought to be the oldest criminal case ever prosecuted by DNA evidence. Go law enforcement. Chief of Detectives Anzalotti says, quote, "If you do the math, it's very possible that he's killed between 80 and 100. He was not caught until 1980, so that's 13 years that he was out there preying on women," end quote. I would agree. All in all, Anzalotti, the historian, and the 1 family member of the victim have gotten 8 confessions out of Cottingham, with a few more that are currently in the works. Lots of bureaucratic red tape is preventing Cottingham from making these confessions official. I guess police departments can't agree on everything, but the one thing that everyone can agree on is that they don't have much time to waste. Cottingham is old and quite sick and simply isn't going to be around forever. He has been spending his life behind bars in the New Jersey State Prison in Trenton, New Jersey. According to Cottingham, he received satisfaction from different things at different times. So it wasn't always by murdering women. Sometimes it was by getting them to do what he wanted them to do, like sex, crossing the state lines, getting into his car without him paying them first. Yikes. Here's what he has to say about himself. Quote, "For a long time now, I have been trying to understand the darkness that enveloped my soul during my youth. Remorse back then wasn't part of my thought process. When the sun went down and the moon came up, the animal form that is in all of us came out and controlled my actions." End quote. Well, that's creepy. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to this channel. One of my awesome subscribers asked me to create content on a few different guys, so to honor that request, next week we're going to dive headfirst into the story of Danny Rolling, known as the Gainesville Ripper, an American serial killer who murdered 5 students in Gainesville, Florida over the course of 4 days in August of 1990. He later confessed to raping several victims, committing a triple homicide in Louisiana, and attempting to murder his father. Busy dude. In total, Rolling confessed to murdering 8 people. Catch all the details surrounding this scumbag right here on All Things True Crime. It's truly chilling. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe.